Hello and welcome to Theme Park Worldwide, where it's time for our in-depth spoiler review of The Curse at Alton Manor.
So this is the new dark ride that has replaced Jewel at Alton Towers.
Yeah, and I tell you what, they've done an absolutely fantastic job with this. That much so, we needed to have 10 rides on it to really be able to appreciate the attraction in all of its glory and sit down here and film this video for you all, because there really is so much going on inside this attraction.
I think it's one of them where there's just so much going on, you just need to have the multiple rides to be able to take a full feel for it.
You know, it's a great attraction though when you want to have more re-rides.
Exactly.
That's what I say, and the creative team have done a brilliant job. In our vlog from the opening day on Saturday, of course, check it out if you haven't already seen it. We took you for a tour around the area, shared our initial thoughts, but we kept that spoiler free. Worth pointing out, we're going to be talking all in detail about this attraction.
Full of spoilers.
All the effects in here, of course, what you can see inside the ride, and much more. So only watch past this point if you do want spoilers from inside the attraction. But lots to talk about in this, so let's get started. Firstly, by talking about Gloomy Wood itself. It's been an area of Alton Towers since the original haunted house opened back in 1992, and over 30 years later, Gloomy Wood is looking absolutely fantastic, isn't it?
I think it's one of them where it's just so nice to see it busy again, because it used to be just a dark and lonely area of the park, whereas now it's got life, which is lovely.
Definitely, and especially on the opening day, it was jam-packed full of people. If we talk about the facade itself, there's only been a few changes to the exterior, obviously with the smashed window and the silhouette of Emily just up there as well. The biggest change has been actually removing the big crypts feature and making that the entrance to the queue line loads better, because you can really appreciate the facade. Along with that, they've kind of darkened it up in places, lightened it up in other areas, and the facade and the area itself is full of little Easter eggs, which I really like, such as this sign just here, the actual for sale sign that you can see on the side there with Wardley Estates, which is of course a nice throwback to John Wardley, the original creator of the haunted house back in 1992. Along with that, in Gloomy Wood, of course, you've got the refresh shop, we'll come on to that later, and of course the food and beverage outlet, which has got the little hearse attached to it, which makes a great photo opportunity with the house as the backdrop.
I think that really makes it on the end.
Definitely. Of course, you come up to the entrance itself, and yeah, like we say, it's utilised the old kind of crypts which was out the front of Jewel, and yeah, you walk underneath that now. Of course, you've got the restrictions board there. 0.9 is the height restriction for this ride, and there is no age restriction. However, as we're going to talk about in this, there's some pretty dark scenes throughout the attraction, so I probably wouldn't say little ones on it, even if they do reach that height restriction, unless they're feeling brave. What do you think?
Exactly. If they're feeling very brave, then you should be okay.
Definitely. Now we make our way into the queue line for this, which really does help build up the anticipation and suspense for The Curse at Alton Manor. Of course, you've got all the trees, which are really nice in there anyway. You're undercover with all the trees. And then, of course, you've got all the gravestones. A lot of them are original features that have been cleaned up from the haunted house. But there's so many new ones that have got little Easter eggs in there as well, isn't there?
Honestly, there's some really nice ones. There's actually one that's on about my name in there. I was like, oh, that's so good.
I love it.
There's just so much to read throughout the queue line, which is just so good to see. And if it is busy, you can just read the tombstones and stuff, and it's great. Yeah,
there's loads of gravestones for former attractions at Alton Towers. There's all sorts. You've got Ripsaw in there, Corkscrew.
So much going on.
There's one, of course, for Air with the original swirl on the logo. Loads of throwbacks, which is really nice with all the gravestones. And one of my favourite parts of the queue line which they've done here is the audio. I absolutely adore the soundtrack. I believe it was created by Imascore, and the soundtrack in the queue line is beautiful. It's not too full on, it's very atmospheric. It gives me kind of Haunted Mansion, Phantom
100%.
Manor at the Disney parks vibes, and we'll be referencing those rides quite a bit actually throughout this in terms of similarities. But yeah, another great feature of the queue line is the fact they've got the smoke rising throughout as well, which is a great feature and really helps build the ambience, doesn't it?
I really hope that stays, because it just lingers in the queue line, which is great.
You've got a doll hiding away in the tree just over there.
Creepy.
Very creepy, setting the tone, of course, for going into the attraction, and of course the doll's house itself, which is full of dolls, which we're going to be, of course, talking about in this review. But yeah, lots of nice things to see in the queue line. The audio, the smoke, the gravestones, it really is fantastic. And of course, you weave round towards the main house itself. They've chopped the trees a little bit, so you get lovely shots looking at the house house, Alton Manor itself. There's a little scene on the right hand side where you've got like all these little play cubes, would you call them?
Yeah,
like,
it's just like
blocks.
it says happy birthday Emily, and then there's like teddy bears and stuff on the floor.
Yeah, quite creepy, like little picnic scene going on there. You come around the front of the attraction, of course, and then you make your way inside into the entrance hall. And again, there's so many little Easter eggs in here. One of my favourites just on the side is called the listing of the property that's for sale, and the price $1,992,000, which of course translates to 1992, the original opening year of the haunted house. That's a really nice feature. Along with that, there's some lovely pictures in there as well. You could spend ages in that first room.
Because there's so much going on in there.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And again, it really, features a lot of the original features from the haunted house that did stay in for jewels, such as the moose up on the wall, and the pictures are all around. But a lot of the pictures have kind of been covered up on the walls now, because obviously this house, it's been derelict for some time. It's on sale, and yeah, I do love kind of what they've done in there. More subtle changes, but it's made it so much more atmospheric and realistic. They've only added a few bits in that first little room, but it's made it a lot better than it was.
Subtle, isn't
yeah,
it?
Definitely. Then you come round to what is one of my favourite parts of the entire attraction, and that is the pre-show. It's a rolling pre-show that you go into, meaning that you don't actually stop there and then batch you through. However, if you do want to stop, the pathway is wide enough for you to kind of stand at the side and fully appreciate the pre-show. And of course, filming isn't allowed once you get on the ride itself. However, it is for the pre-show and of course all the queue line and exterior. So I've recorded the full pre-show for you now, so let's take a closer look at that.
On the 31st of December, 1892, Mr. and Mrs. Alton held a party to celebrate the turning of the new year. However, on the final chime of midnight, the manor appeared to be struck by a storm of supernatural proportions. All known occupants of the house perished. That is, aside from the owner's only child, Emily, who to this day remains unaccounted for. The house has stood uninhabited ever since.
Father, please may I have some party?
No, you may not. Now get to your room, you wretched little creature.
What a perfect way of setting the mood and the tone for this awesome attraction. I love what they've done there, and the fact it's only a couple of minutes long as well. It means that you get to see pretty much the full thing, and like I say, if you want to, you can just stand at the side and see that.
I think that's the thing, if it was a longer pre-show, you wouldn't be able to take it all in because you know that the queue's moving, where if they kept it short, you know that you can stand there and watch it.
It's a really nice way of telling the story in just a couple of minutes. The Doll's House, what they've done with the screens on there,
Looks fantastic.
it is amazing. It's kind of a nod really to the past, and obviously Emily's only feature in the attraction, which was in the Doll's House, and now the whole attraction is based around Emily, that little girl, very creepy little girl. And of course with the storyline it really builds up. In the queue line you've got the little plaques outside telling the story, and then of course you get that in the pre-show as well, and about how Emily has been left alone in the attic and becoming very impatient and not very happy.
She's not happy at all.
Her parents that are downstairs having all these parties, and she wants to seek her revenge on her parents. That's basically the story of what's going on here. But what they've done in that pre-show is great. The UV comes on, you see all the writing. She's gone crazy writing on all the walls. You still got the fireplace in there, but it's not as noticeable now. They've covered up all the portraits. Like I say, it's more focused on that Doll's House, which I really like. The lighting, the audio in there, perfect. And you've got a lovely family picture of the Alton family on there.
Really like it.
Which is great, you know, that's really nicely detailed. And then of course you make your way into the station area itself. This is your last kind of chance to take any photos and videos before riding, and the station's great because you've got this big banner. Emily doesn't like the fact her parents have been having these parties. Massive Happy New Year, New Year's Eve party banner from this big party that took place in 1892. Along with that, you got like all streamers hanging up in the station.
And stuff like that.
Used to make those at school, like massive paper chains hanging up. You still got the iconic bustle on the wall. They're all covered up though now. Along with that, in the ceiling, you've got the chandeliers that are just flickering away. The ambience in the station is completely different.
I really like it in there.
Yeah, completely different to what it was when it was Jewel, and even the haunted house. It's more close to the haunted house, but worth pointing out, even at this stage, this isn't a reincarnation of the haunted house. This is a third kind of attraction in that building. It's not trying to be the old haunted house. It's its own thing, and I think they've really done that beautifully. But yeah, the station's got a great atmosphere. They've ripped some more of the wallpaper off, and you can tell that something's not quite right inside Alton Manor. Right then, onto the attraction itself. Like I say, you're not allowed to film on the ride. However, we've got a few pictures from inside that Alton Towers released. And yeah, we'll kind of explain in detail what you can see on there.
There's so much going on.
And also our thoughts on it as well. We'll kind of talk about what there is there, what we like the most, and things that we maybe change in each scene as well. So the first thing that you're greeted with is this opening scene with a family portrait on the wall, which is a screen with an animation on there, and of course with Emily. And along with that, there's a clock as well on 12 o'clock in front of you.
Yes, there is. And then with the screen, there's sort of a little bit of talking, and then Emily's parents disappear and she's just left there on her own.
It reminds me very much of the classic scenes that you can find in the Disney dark rides like Haunted Mansion and Phantom Manor, but there. You also get a really nice soundtrack that starts from this point. Emily follows you through this attraction through the audio, which I really like. You continue around, the moving walls with the lights behind, they're still there, but look a lot more realistic now. And of course you've got the big doors in front of you, which is actually the ride's maintenance shed. You wouldn't know, you think it was just a piece of theming, but that is the maintenance shed. That's the first bit of real projection mapping that you see. It all kind of bursts out purple. Really nice scene that is in there.
Yeah, I quite like it in there.
You turn around the corner and you're greeted by a stained glass window, which is a picture of Alton Manor itself. It flashes, you've got the strobe light on there. You take that right turn and of course you're in the huge banqueting hall, dining room scene, which has changed quite a lot actually, hasn't it?
This is actually my favourite scene in the ride. So you've got like the skeletons sat at tables, but they've got like lights in the chest, like a nice purple glow. But then as you're going down, there's like a mirror, and then Emily appears as like a projection map sort of thing. It's fantastic.
Yeah, down there at the end. I think it's probably a screen at the end.
It's hard to tell, isn't it?
But obviously you've got a mix of screens and projections mapping in here, but what they've done with that is great. That's the main
so
visual
good.
effect in there. You've still got the columns. You've actually got a band that are playing on the left-hand side as well, which is nice. And yeah, there's just so much to see inside there. It's kept that like iconic floor. There's not really a monster, big demon coming out from behind the pillar like there used to be there. However, the ambience inside that first main scene, as I would say, is fantastic. I wouldn't really change anything about that.
No,
I think it's great.
I definitely wouldn't either.
You turn the corner and then you do get a scare coming from the top. It's not very well lit. I think that could do with being lit up better. It's hard to tell what it is, some sort of demon. It's a quick kind of stab jump scare.
You don't really see what it is.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Obviously before it was a large demon who was holding a rat, and prior to that in the haunted house actually holding like a cup and saucer inside there. But yeah, that could do a little bit more lighting, I think. You then follow around, of course, gradually towards the Trommel Tunnel. This was a real blank scene in Jewel, and now they've repainted all the wall just there.
It's like usually on the wall with like handprints and stuff.
It's great because you go past it and the wording changes on there as well. And then you're greeted by a big family portrait of the Alton family, and actually Emily kind of putting like this big kind of slash right through it.
So it looks like a lightning bolt going through,
Yeah.
but it's like going across their necks and stuff. But that's a really nice scene.
Yeah, and obviously Emily's talking to you throughout this, which is great, you know. But you see this, there's another picture on the wall next to it, which is of the original Trommel Tunnel from the haunted house days, which I really like on there. Of course, that was kind of reincarnated for Jewel, but that original nice picture with a big portrait. There's some other pictures in there, and then you're greeted by this humongous fireplace. That is a massive scene change just there.
Yeah.
It's huge, the fireplace. It's kind of very similar to the one that you could see before in the pre-show. There's not as much focus on that now because obviously there's other things to see. But here you see this massive fireplace. You've got the clock at the top there. There's all these different ornaments on there as well. And of course, greeted right in front of you is the trommel tunnel, which is now working again.
It's so nice to have the trommel back.
It's been a good few years. I can't remember just how long because it felt like forever, but the trommel's back on, which is great. In there, they've kept it UV style with all the bricks, but they've also put lots of wording in there as well.
There's a lot of words going on throughout there.
Yeah, which is really good to see. So yeah, trommel's back in action. Very nice. We've heard as well there is some sort of a mist effect before you go into the trommel on the fireplace.
So that you don't see it straight away.
It's not been working very well apparently, mainly because of how fast the ride vehicles have been going through there. It's been causing the mist to kind of move out that area.
It.
Yeah, we were chatting to John Wardley about that actually, and he was telling us about that effect and how hopefully they'll be able to sort that in the future. And that's the thing, you know, there is still tweaks that are being done to this. At the end, you've got a clock which is spinning round. I think the clock looks nice, but I think it could have looked even better, a bit more realistic in my opinion.
I think it's one of them where I think maybe if it had been elevated onto the wall a little bit and a little bit around it, because that room does look quite bare.
Yeah, I know there's a fire exit on the left, which obviously has got to be clear, but a few boxes and other things would be nice.
There, not just the clock.
This is where you used to have the big skull on the wall, if you remember, that used to open up. It's in that area just there. You take a right turn and you're into one of my favourite scenes in the ride now, where you've got Emily holding a candle, an actual prop of Emily herself, and you've got this lovely scene, haven't you, just there?
Yeah, it's like Emily's there with the candle, and then on the wall there's like a, what'd you say, projection or sort of
yeah, it is a projection of it, like a demon coming out.
But there's just so much props across the floor and stuff. There's just so much going on, but it is a really good scene. Yeah,
it's very nice. That's completely different. If you remember, of course, with Jewel, that was the scene where there was all the bats spinning round. Didn't look great because you could see the wires and mechanism. Now it looks amazing.
So much better.
Yeah, really nice scene that is, and builds up the atmosphere beautifully. Emily also says in the audio here, let's play hide and seek. And that sets you up for the next scene that isn't really a scene. It's very dark. In fact, there's about 8 to 10 seconds, depending on the speed of the vehicle, of darkness here where you see nothing. This is the part of the ride where everybody seems to think that, you know, more's coming or it's not been finished yet. As far as we're aware, that is the finished product. They may change it, however, that is what it's supposed to be. It's like an audio experience with audio coming from around you. I don't think it works great in my opinion.
I think it's one of them where if they want it to be an audio-led thing, the audio needs to be a lot better and a lot lower down.
Yeah.
It is a long section to not have anything going on.
I'm pretty sure the speakers are actually coming down from the ceiling on poles, so the audio, it just sounds from above. It'd be better if you could hear something in the right ear, something in the left ear. You could see a little bit more in there when we rode it again, and the original theming is still there. I personally think some more projections or even a couple of flashes of light would be good in there to add to it instead of just darkness. Everyone's bit of feedback has been that dark section there. I know it's kind of a hide and seek game with Emily, but yeah, I don't think that works amazing.
I think it's one of them where it feels like the effects aren't working for some people going through there with just it being black. Yeah,
definitely. Then you turn the corner and the next thing that you see lit up is these puppets inside the windows.
So it's like, my perfect family.
Oh, I love it.
And then it's like Emily and then her parents either side, but they look very happy in this scene.
She's demonic, this girl. Like, she's crazy. Like, it's a very dark storyline that they've gone for. The Alton Towers love the dark stories and dark themes, but that's nice. And this is very colourful here.
It is.
First time you kind of see a lot of coloured lighting and stuff used here. This is a physical set as well, which is good. It's a practical set, not screens. It's right there in front of you. As you go round the corner, Emily's hand does a really good jump scare.
It's like she's coming into the doll's house, and it's quite scary because it lights up and then it just goes off straight away.
It's like she's trying to grab you. So it's one of them what I would call a stab scare. You know, it's like straight on and then goes. But that's nice. And then you come into an absolutely beautiful scene. It's the start of the attic, which is a big scene in the ride. You've got a doll coming from the right, a doll coming from the left. You've got Emily who's there and then turns into a spider, which is nice.
So she's on the wall and she's there and she's like, are you scared of spiders or something on behind those lines? Yeah. Then you've got spiders coming from the side and then obviously the big spider as well.
Yeah, there's lots to see in there. The attic scene, you know, they've actually done the roofs with the apexes like this, and there's so much to see. It actually hides a lot of the mechanism for the giant spider, which is still there. They've slightly changed the position of him. They've lifted him up a little bit. His eyes light up red now, and yeah, you've got some other smaller spiders. There's 3, I think, on some boxes that come up.
Yes, there is, that come up with red eyes.
There's another couple of dolls that come in from the side that are quite creepy, like wearing these white dresses that come in from the side. You've got a lot of practical sets going on in there, which is nice, and obviously the projection of Emily kind of changing into this spider. And like Charlotte said, with "Are you scared of spiders?" that's been in there for a long time, and now Emily says it instead of the male voice. I like how they've kept that little touch, which is fantastic. But yeah, I really like that scene. What they've done in there is great. You then make your way round to a completely different scene. If you remember before, Electric Bill, he used to be there pulling the lever. He's now gone, but we've got a full scene there. There was never much there really in Jewel, but yeah, what they've done there now is amazing, and probably the most impressive effect in the ride, in my opinion.
I think it's one of them. The first time I went on it, I actually missed it because I didn't know where to look.
Yeah.
So you've just got to remember that when you go into this scene, look to your right.
After the big spider, look right.
Keep looking
You've got a screen there where you see Emily do a quick effect, quick flash up, but then there's all mirrors, and if you look in their mirrors, firstly, you'll see yourself on the ride vehicle, but then there's actually the mirrors stop, and you then see a ride vehicle, it's a practical set, actually moving on a track at the same speed as you, and you've got Emily herself sat in there, which is amazing.
It is just so creepy to see, and she's just there, but it's one of them where you've got to make sure that you're looking to the right or you're not going to get it.
That for me is the most impressive effect in the ride. Again, it felt very Disney, you know, at the end where you've got kind of like all the ghosts in the Doom buggy with you. It felt like that. Emily, you've changed into Emily who sat there, but I thought that was really well done. Like, absolutely amazing. In there as well, it is like a big corridor. You've got all chandeliers around. There's actually another big scare that comes from the left, another doll that comes out in there. That is a very full-on scene. I think that section with the spiders and there is the scariest part of the ride for jumps, in my opinion.
There's a lot going on.
You then go into the next scene, which is quite dark. However, there is stuff going on, and this is where you had the screaming heads before. If you remember the sound effects, I'm going to do it for you all. You used to go, yeah, a bit like that. Sorry, neighbours. But yeah, you had that effect in there. And basically, they've kept their mechanisms with the screaming heads. They have changed the sound effects, but what I love with this is how they've fixed the lighting. When it was Jewel, you could see all the mechanisms, you could see the heads on the wall, you could see wires. Now it's all hidden. You've still got these heads moving across, which are more kind of like demon figures that are hooded by the looks of it. Hard to tell because they're not lit up much, but I'm glad that they're not lit up a lot because you can't see the mechanisms. There's maybe 3 of those in there, and of course whizzing above you. There's nothing on the sides, it's pitch black. They're whizzing above you. I really like that scene. Charlotte's a little bit different to me.
I think for me, I just don't think it fits in because I think the actual demons or Grim Reapers, whatever they are, I just don't feel like they fit in. It is good that you can't see the mechanisms, but for me, I feel like this is the weakest part of the ride.
Interesting. You've actually got a static one as well. They don't all move, and this one's got a smoke effect coming from his mouth towards you, which is great. Then you're into the garden itself. So you've left the house behind, you come into the garden. What they've done here, this is the scene that still looks very similar to the likes of the Haunted House and Jewel. I think that's because of the amount of physical sets that we've got in here. However, it's very different too. They've really enhanced it. Obviously, you had that Wraith, Grim Reaper kind of creature on the left. That's now a voodoo doll. Same as well with some of the statues. You've got like these, a bit like scarecrows all around there, sitting in the garden. These voodoo dolls, like these voodoo kind of creatures around. You come down towards where the hearse was. That's kind of been changed into a carriage with some horses now.
They're like big wooden horses.
They're really nice. I mean, there was a Pepper's Ghost effect there, which I think would have still fit in quite nicely.
I think so.
They have took that out. I don't know why. Maybe it had come to the end of its life, but yeah, there was a Pepper's Ghost. That scene's great. It's a little bit static for me there.
It needs something that's moving there.
Yeah, the wheel used to spin, and you had the Pepper's Ghost effect. It feels a bit static now, but you turn the corner, all the walls, you can kind of see how Emily's scraped her hands along. She's come to get you. You've got the scare coming from the right-hand side at that point with the animatronic that comes round. Used to do another like sound effects. You're getting all the sound effects today. And then, yeah, he's kind of like a voodoo kind of doll now. That's kind of what's taken over. Of course, before you had the big statue of like the Grim Reaper there, that kind of area is still very similar, but you've got Emily sat there now as well with a fantastic Pepper's Ghost effect. Emily's on a swing.
I love that. I think it looks.
It looks
you come
amazing.
round and it looks so creepy because she's just sat there with her head down and she's just rocking back and forth.
Practical sets as well. We're not talking screens here. Practical sets, and then obviously it's a Pepper's Ghost.
Really
However, you want to be sat on the back really to enjoy that the most, because if you're on the front, you don't see it as much. You need to kind of turn to the side, and you'll see how she disappears. Then, which is fantastic. And then of course you leave the garden. But I do love how much is going on in there. Obviously,
fantastic in there.
Yeah, now's a good time to mention the soundtrack as well. Obviously, the Q-Line audio is amazing. When you get onto the ride itself, you've got beautiful soundtracks that change throughout. The garden, it takes another kind of a ramp up with the soundtrack. It's like a dun-dun-dun-dun, like these drums in the background.
You're coming to the end and you're going into the doll's house.
Which really builds up. There's a lot of sound effects. There's a lot of sound bites throughout. There's a lot of audio coming around you. The audio is amazing.
It is, yeah.
And even in a few days, actually, since Saturday, they've tweaked a few little bits already,
which is good.
Which has really helped to hear that main soundtrack. Then, of course, you're greeted by the huge doll's house itself, with its doors wide open. You can see the little model in the top just there. You've got this lighting effect, kind of like you're being shrunk down now to go inside.
Sort of light effect.
Yeah, which is used on there. And this is the part of the ride that has changed the most. This was the zombie finale, so to speak, in Jewel. But what they've done is completely transformed it. I think all they've really kept in there is the basic walls, and then they've added all new
Everything
props.
Else has just been stripped.
Of course, there's a lot of Easter eggs throughout the attraction, but this is the main scene where you get Easter eggs through a lot of former rides in there. There's a little Toyland Tours sign. There's all sorts of old ride references to former attractions in there as well, and presents, which is really nice. You are moving at quite a speed through there, so you don't see them all straight away, but there's a lot to look at in that scene.
The flume duck's in there.
It is. I love that reference. Big, massive flume duck. That was, of course, the big jump scare in the flume. That's there. You know,
it's so good.
It terrified people
in
on the flume.
In a very different manner.
Yeah, I mean, even though it scared people there, but yeah, you know, it's there, and I really do like what they've done. Lots of great lighting effects in here as well. Very colourful. You've got boxes at the side, and you've got like all these dolls that are not like creepy female dolls.
It's like they're like melting and stuff.
Yeah, like, it's very weird. Kind of like the Jack in a Box effect, I'm going to call it, like going around. Very colourful scenes. We're not talking your blues, your darker colours, multicoloured kind of vibrant scenes just here. Like big matchboxes, and you've got this big kind of model on the side, you know, where Emily's kind of made the house out of paper, and it's like she's going to burn it, basically.
Yeah,
all these big matches and everything like that. Which is fantastic. You've got a use of like a projection on the right of like Emily's hands coming in to get you there as well. But there's a lot going on. You've then got some windows kind of on the left hand side. You see Emily's eye and her face in there, which is nice.
I think for me, this scene is fantastic. There's so much going on, but I think there's a little bit too much in there, and because you're going through so fast, you just really do miss certain aspects in there.
Yeah, I agree. I love what they've done. I think if they could have slowed the ride system down, it would have made that even better. But I think for me, some of them props and little bits might have been a better place in other parts of the ride. They're a little bit blank. But like we mentioned, the clock after the trommel and the dark corridor, some of them props would have been better there, in my opinion, because there's so much going on in that scene, which is great.
Overwhelming.
And that's why we said on opening day in our vlog, overwhelming. That scene was mainly why, wasn't it?
Because you're just going round and there's just something here, something there, and you just don't know where to look because you're going past so fast.
Yeah, and because you don't know where to look, in a way it feels like you've not seen much at all. It's very weird. There's lots to see, but by the end of it you can't pick out a few things because, you know, there's that much happening instead of a few really good things. It's just like, oh my god, overwhelming. So yeah, that's the scene that I really like, but also could be delivered better in my opinion. You then follow around the corner. This looks very different to how it was before. I mean, you had zombies that were shooting down at you. The whole thing looks different and so much more immersive without targets, but especially what they've done with the ending. All three versions of this ride we've had over the past 30 years, the Haunted House, Jewel and Alton Manor, this scene has always been very different, but what they've done in here is fantastic. You then kind of come around the corner, lots more barrels, doors opening up with practical sets, which is great. I love how many practical and physical sets there is in this ride. We was all a bit worried, maybe thinking, is it going to be like Gangster Granny? Lots of projections everywhere and lots of screens, but it's really not. It's mostly practical sets.
I think it would have took away from it if it had been too many screens.
Definitely.
You wanted them physical sets there as well.
You've got all the sets, and then you've got projections added on, and that's what leads into this next part of the scene here, where you've got all the walls kind of crumbling away, and then yeah, you've got projections all on the side. It's all going a bit crazy. Like I say, then 20-30 seconds there's that full on. You know, even after 10 rides, I still can't picture every little detail there because there really is so much to see. But you go around the corner and then you're greeted by a huge, and I mean huge, Emily head, which is kind of above you. You do need to look up towards it, but this head is amazing. Like it's massive. We're talking Wicker Man's pre-show, maybe even bigger than the Wicker Man there.
I think it's bigger.
We're talking huge, suspended up from the ceiling, which looks amazing. It's projection mapped as well. It's also the on-ride photo points, and to have a big kind of scare moment like that, what they do, they've got like a wooden beam on the side. I'm not sure if it acts as like a shelf or just part of the structure of this building, but what it does, it falls down really quick, creates a loud noise, not just a sound effect, the actual noise of it coming back on the hinges to take your photo. And of course you've got Emily's big head there, which is projection mapped, which is absolutely amazing. I think what I would change with that, in my opinion, is the position, because it's there, you see it for maybe, I'd say 3 seconds maximum, it's gone. I want to appreciate that for longer.
I think it's one of them where blink and you'll miss it, because you're coming round and it doesn't get lit up straight away.
Yeah.
It needs to be in as you come round the corner and lower down, because you just can't appreciate it where it is.
Yeah, you come round that corner, of course, to the final part before you head into the offload, and that does look really nice still. You've got up on the side where they used to have, back in the day, there used to be a creature that came out. During Jewel, it was nothing. There was just a big hole.
Empty.
Now they put a clock in there
Which
as
is
well,
nice.
which is a nice little touch, and it's like 12:05.
12.
Yeah, a little bit later because you've been on a 5-minute ride. You know, I love that. But I think for me, the head would have been better there.
I agree.
Maybe they didn't do that because of access issues, because I mentioned earlier on about the start of the ride where the maintenance shed is. That's also another door there that leads into the maintenance area, so maybe there was no room to get it in there, but it would have been a lot better there in my opinion, because you slow down at the end before coming in. You'd have had a lot of time to appreciate it, and it's nice that scene with the clock, but there's not loads going on, and that would have been a real lasting memory seeing that.
100%.
I think they got the positioning wrong for the head. I have got to say, it is amazing, I love it, but it is in the wrong place to really appreciate
Because
it.
where it is, you sort of look and then you sort of round the corner and it's gone.
Definitely. And then of course you're into the offload area, the chandeliers in there, the wallpaper. Pleased to say that all the flooring's been replaced throughout that area as well. That was one of our first signs that we knew something was coming. That carpet was horrible by the end of last year. All that's been done. You come down the exit, and of course, yeah, you've got like all the UV effects, Emily's writing all on the walls there, and then you exit into the gift shop. Whee! What they've done in here, they've took the wall out where the photo point used to be, put that on the left-hand side. Loads going on in there. It's a shop that is really well themed. I think they need a little bit more in the ceiling, cobwebs wise, but what they've got is fantastic. And there's a big photo op, isn't there, as well?
There is indeed. So there's a humongous chair to sit on, which is massive, and then they've got like a picture which is like animated of Emily, and then she moves when you get closer, and she gets closer to the screen. It's a really good photo point. Yeah,
along with that as well, you've got all the wooden effect all around the till area and where the merchandise is, and one of the biggest Easter eggs is actually obviously on Jewel, then you had the bookcases on the back, which was all the mechanics for the gun mechanism. Obviously that wasn't needed anymore, they've took it off, and in fact there's 6 seats now instead of 5 before, which does, you know, help increase the throughput. Probably not by much, but it does help. What they've done with them old bookcases, they've actually put quite a lot of them around in the shop, as you can see here, and some of them have still got like the gunk on, you know, like I was saying, the tacky gunk effect that really ruined the class of those in Jewel. Well, they've put them in the shop, and it's a nice little throwback. They weren't great as props in the shop, they just didn't look the best when they were on the ride. But the shop's great, the attic of antiquities, very nice in there with what they've done. I think this needs a little bit more, but there's all dolls, some of them the eyes light up, some movement in there, and merchandise wise there's some nice little bits, but hopefully there's going to be more coming soon.
I'd like to hope so, because there's nothing like amazing in there that really stands out.
We've heard that there could be some sort of big doll's house coming really soon, so hopefully that's going to be the case. Then of course you back out into the area itself, you've got the food unit, which looks great. That was closed for many years. Last time that operated was probably 4 years ago at least, and that was a Nitrogeni ice cream unit. Now it's a confectionery stand, isn't it?
It's really nice to just see it open again, because obviously you come down to there and there'd be no food or anything to have, so at least when you're in the area you can have an ice cream, milkshake, something like that. It's just something.
We've not sampled anything from there yet.
We will.
We've saved it for the food vlog, which will be coming up very soon on the channel, so stay tuned for that. But we will sample something. But I tell you what, that is our full in-depth review of the Curse at Alton Manor. Our overall thoughts are that we absolutely love it. We think it's a brilliant addition to the park. I think there's some tweaking to be done. Some scenes could have been made a little bit better, but overall this is a massive upgrade ride on Jewel the Haunted House Strikes Back?
I think one of them. I enjoy it so much. I used to love Jewel like so much. I was always wary, but I think they've done a fantastic job, and I just can't wait to continue riding every time that we go.
It's ridiculously rideable.
Really is.
10 rides, and we still can't picture every little detail in there because there's that much to look at, there's that much going on, and that's the sign of a fantastic attraction. Like, don't get me wrong, Gangster Granny, it's a nice family ride, but you can go on it once and you can picture everything. With this, there's just so many little details.
You're picking up new bits every time you go.
Absolutely everywhere. I think what the biggest improvement as well is lighting. Obviously in Jewel, a lot of the lighting got replaced to LED,
and it wasn't
which wasn't great. Obviously it's important to be energy efficient, but it took away from a lot of the scenes.
You could see
the lighting is pretty much perfect. In fact, some scenes are a little bit too dark, like we said with that effect at the end of the banqueting hall. It needs to be a little bit lighter in there. But what they've done is amazing. The soundtrack's great, lots of awesome audio throughout. The speakers are really nicely placed as well, so you can get the sound effects coming from the dolls. If there's something coming from the right, the speaker's there. If there's something from the left, it's there, which is really good. Obviously we mentioned about that dark scene with the audio. That is the big bit what needs some work in our opinion.
Really needs work.
Even though it was intended to be like that, I think that needs some changes. But overall, I'm really impressed with what Alton Towers have done. Of course, the Disney attraction was designed by John Burton, lead creative for Merlin Magic Making. I believe he's a big enthusiast as well, and of course he loves Disney, and you can see how he loves the Disney attractions and has put a bit of Disney into Alton Towers with this.
Which is just so nice to see. He's done such an amazing job. Should be really proud.
One of my favourite dark rides in the world is Mystic Manor at Hong Kong Disneyland, and I know for a fact that John's rode that attraction, and the actual staff uniform, what you can see like here in the shop on the walls, that logo, very similar to Mystic Manor, and there's a lot of elements that kind of combine, you know, your Haunted Mansion, Phantom Manor, Mystic Manor into this, which is really good.
Lovely,
and it's done on a really great scale that you could put that ride in a park like Europa Park, Phantasialand, Efteling,
so well.
and it wouldn't be out of place because they've done it really well. It's been done to a European level standard, which is really good to see. Obviously, there's so many effects in there. There's a lot that could go wrong. I'm really hoping that Alton Towers can look after this attraction. As we know in the past, with certain elements that have been added, and you've only got to look at how the Smiler looks at the moment with its presentation. Let's hope that they can really look after the curse at Alton Manor. There's so much that can go wrong.
I think there's just so much going on, and it could really ruin someone's ride experience if something's not working. You really need to have everything working for that attraction.
Yeah, definitely. You know, and that's the thing when you got projections, you got props moving out, animatronics. You know, there's so much that can go wrong.
Take it away if it wasn't working.
Definitely, and obviously the Trommel Tunnel is a big thing. That is back. It's back in action. They need to keep on top of it. They need to keep these effects maintained. So hopefully they can do. Fingers crossed. But overall, what a great addition to Alton Towers. It's immersive. It's heavily themed. It's definitely one of my favourite rides in the park.
I agree.
The big question, you know, that I've really been asking myself over the past few days, as much as, you know, you don't always want to compare attractions. Each thing's great for what it is. A big one for me was seeing, have Alton Towers done a dark ride that has topped Hex, the Legend of the Towers.
We love Hex so much.
We adore Hex. I would say after 10 rides on it, that this attraction is on the same level as Hex for me.
I'd probably say the same, to be honest.
I've been really thinking about it, but that is an amazing level to be at. Hex is a fully immersive attraction.
It's fantastic.
Original storyline, no IP involved, and I appreciate how we didn't get an IP with this. It's full on Alton Towers and all the references, the name and everything. You know, it's Alton Towers. It couldn't work in any other park with the Alton family and everything, the history of that building. It's come together beautifully. But yeah, I'd say this is the best dark ride that Alton Towers have built in 23 years, which is quite a big statement.
It is a big statement.
You know, 23 years, and it's the best dark ride they've built. One of my favourite dark rides in the UK, which is also a big statement to make. They've done a great job,
really
and
good job.
I look forward to many more happy rides, or should I say terrifying rides on there in the future. I just want to mention actually in terms of the scare level, for anybody who's got kids and thinking, you know, should we take them on or not if they're over the height restriction, obviously it's up to your discretion. In terms of jump scares, there is quite a few. However, the content of the ride, I wouldn't say is too terrifying.
No, I wouldn't say so either. It's more the audio and stuff, because it's like loud noises that's quite scary.
It is, yeah. We're not talking like blood and guts or anything like that. Nothing like that in the ride. They haven't gone with that. There's no zombies. That's all gone. You know, it's no blood and guts, no zombies. It's more psychological, creepy horror in this. Like you've got, you know, like this big doll on the wall and stuff, which is quite a dark scene. But it's not it's not too much. But there is some jumpy moments. moment. So obviously proceed with caution for this. Obviously, you know, maybe if you have got kids, take them into the pre-show, see how they react to the environment.
Then take them on.
Yeah, and then take them on, because it's a similar vibe to that. But absolutely love it. Well done to John Byrne. Of course, John Wardley has been kind of involved in the project as well. I mean, obviously, John retired from working for Merlin quite some time ago, but they always kind of bring him in to look over things, oversee things. He's a legend, John Wardley himself. We chatted to him on Saturday.
It's lovely.
You know, absolute legend. It was great to see him again. And yeah, we know that he's a little bit involved. And they kind of run things past him and say, "What do you think to this, John?" And he kind of adds in his input.
Which is nice.
So, you know, it's not a full-on John Wardley attraction, it's John Burton. He's the name that now we're starting to see a lot of. And what we're seeing here really gives me hope for future attractions.
100%.
Can't wait for Nemesis next year and the changes coming, and of course the indoor roller coaster Project Horizon after that.
This gets me really excited for Horizon.
It does. You know, indoor coaster, what you wanted anyway, and then with the theming of Alton Manor, we could be in for a real treat with that, hopefully in 2025 when that opens. But there you go, sit down in-depth review. This was the only way to talk about a dark ride,
yeah.
you know, with this level of detail and nostalgia, because, you know, even standing outside the attraction, a little 5-minute review on the camera would not be enough for this attraction.
We need to just
in our
sit
opinion.
down and then like dissect it piece by piece.
Yeah, definitely. Scene by scene, everything about it. I can't think of anything we've not mentioned, to be honest.
Think of anything
you know, everything that we've really enjoyed in there. And I had to say, what is your favourite scene of
I'm
Alton?
going to say it's that like first scene in the banqueting hall. I really like that. As you look down, Emily's there, and you've got all like the skeletons with the hearts going in different colours. That is one of my favourite scenes.
Yeah, I think for me, I am going to go for that new effect, the corridor with Emily at the side just there. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. But let us know your thoughts, of course, if you are watching this. Maybe you've been on it. I'd imagine you have if you're watching a spoiler video, and maybe you don't know when you come in, so you've just watched it anyway. Thanks for watching. Let us know your thoughts down below in the video comments. You can see the opening day chaos from Saturday in our vlog.
So busy.
It was a busy day. There was so much going on, but we did get round. We got the updates, and yeah, you can see all of that kind of building up the atmosphere before we went on. And also, obviously, in this video, we put some clips and photos in. However, if you check that out, you can hear more of the real sounds that are playing around Gloomy Wood with all the audio as well. But lots going on. Really nice to sit down and talk all about it. And let's hope this is a really successful attraction for Alton Towers in the future. There we go. Well done to all involved. Pat yourselves on the back.
You've done a fantastic job.
We absolutely love it. That leaves us with one final thing to say. Get out there and keep on riding. See you all in the next video.